My name is Jessica Bronzard. I own the Sparks Group. I'm going to introduce our team in just a minute, but want to really welcome you. We are going to cover a couple of topics today. The first one is a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of an insight into how we think about things at the Sparks Group, framed up as the top 5 mistakes that new coaches make and how to avoid them. I don't know if they're top 5, they're 5 for sure. We tried to get a diversity of things that we thought would be interesting or meaningful, and that have really resonated in terms of our experience building the business. And we're going to use that as a way to transition into talking about our new offering, the Catalyst Coaching Collective. This really comes from years and years of people helping me to get started and then eventually kind of turning the tables a little bit and trying to help other people. And instead of continuing to do that in half-hour conversations that get sprinkled across my calendar, we decided to try and organize what we know about this topic, put it into a format that we think is going to be useful and helpful to people who are trying to build their practice. And so we want to explain that to you today, invite you to consider it. And then we also have a low bono offer. So if you're coming from a disadvantaged background or things are tight right now, there may be a way for you to participate if it feels a little bit out of reach when we get to that point. So we're going to dive in. If I can get the slides to go. I want to take a minute and just introduce our fabulous team. Obviously, I introduced myself, but then Anna is here. Anna Sparks is our Chief Operating Officer. She's waving hi. And then Lisa Thompson is our fabulous operations specialist. Anna's in the DC area in Arlington. Lisa is in Texas in Austin. And the Sparks Group is it doesn't go if these two women are not doing a boatload of work on behalf of the organization and on behalf of our clients. So they're providing supporting roles today, and Anna may weigh in, and if I miss something, she may pull me back on track. So, but really important for you to see the team. And this is the team that is also going to be supporting the collective. So while I'm the face of it, and I'm going to be one leading the vast majority of the meetings, you are going to benefit from the talents of all 3 of us, and maybe members of our bench and members of our of the Sparks Group community, is, you know, depending on how it all unfolds. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into our content a little bit. Keeps not wanting to switch the slides. When I first decided to go out on my own, I made the decision in 2014. I actually left my job in 2015. My mindset at the time was, please, God, somebody pay me to do this work. I hope that somebody will pay me to coach them. And that it's a hard place to be. It's a really hard place to be. And so I want to start by saying that there are a lot of beliefs and a lot of feelings and a lot of struggles that go along with deciding to make the leap out onto your own and then actually doing it. I think the mindset piece is a really big one, the overwhelm and the uncertainty of, am I doing the right things? What should I be doing? How do I do this well? Hoping and praying that somebody is going to pay you to do the work that you really love to do. Obviously, one of the biggest questions that immediately comes up from a tactical or practical standpoint is marketing and client acquisition. Where are the clients going to come from? How should you be marketing to them? How do you structure these engagements? How do you bill? What should you price? Like, there's a lot of stuff in the marketing and client acquisition space that is really hard to sort through. There are so many decisions to be made. Another struggle that I see and that I felt is the myth of going solo. This idea that if I'm going out on my own, I have to do everything by myself, that's what it really means. And we're hoping to provide a sense of community to kind of alleviate that. Just because you go out on your own as a solopreneur does not mean that you need to do it alone or be alone. So if that is something that you're feeling, or you're feeling stuck in that, or feeling lonely, and wishing that you had a sounding board, you know, maybe this will be helpful to you. And then the lack of support and guidance. I joke that there's a book of mistakes out there somewhere, and by the time I eventually die or sell or leave the Sparks Group in whatever form or shape that's going to be, I'm going to be able to write the book of mistakes, because we're going to have made all of them. But I think had I had something like the Catalyst Coaching Collective when I first started, to help answer the multitude of questions and to have somebody tell me what their path was like, would have really accelerated things for me. So we're hoping to do that. So these are just some of the things that we feel aspiring coaches struggle with when they're getting started. So let's dive into these mistakes. The first mistake that we think people can make, and this is a little bit of a provocative statement right out of the gate, is that a lot of people believe that they have to build a brand or a big brand right out of the way in order to get their business started. And I do not believe that that is true. We do not believe that that is true. We believe that and we do see a lot of coaches out there who do not have a big brand, who do not have a website, and they are doing just fine. They've got a healthy practice. They're probably doing more subcontracting than they are doing direct business. But this idea that you have to invest a lot of time, energy, resources in building a brand is something that we think is a little bit of a fallacy. It certainly can help, and it certainly can be an important tool, but it is not strictly necessary. So instead, we want to suggest, like, do you enjoy that part of business? Do you enjoy brand building? Do you enjoy marketing? Some people love it. Some people really hate it. Think about where your own interests and talents lie. The real benefit, the real thing that we believe makes a business go, especially in the early stages as a solopreneur, is building relationships and doing quality work so that you get invited back to continue working with those clients. That is the most solid, most valuable thing that you can be focused on in building your business. You can always decide to create a brand or deepen a brand as your practice grows. We have spent and wasted, candidly, so much money on different marketing strategies over the 10 years of the Sparks Group, and we have finally found an approach that works for us, and that may or may not be an approach that works for other practitioners and other practices. So part of what we want to do is help you figure out what suits your personality, what suits the kind of practice you want to have, and to really help you find your best answer to the marketing brand building question. Mistake number 2, trying to handle every aspect of the business yourself or doing it on your own. And I spoke to this a little bit already. Many people think that when you're going out on your own, it means that you have to do everything yourself. And that is not true. You really can outsource just about any part of the business that you want to or need to somebody else. My best example of this is the bookkeeping. So I have an MBA. One could argue that I should be pretty good at the number stuff, but I really hate it, and debits and credits have never been my friend. And I hired a bookkeeper, but I was using QuickBooks, and I refused to pay for QuickBooks Online. So I was trying to do it myself. This poor woman, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, was coming to my house every quarter, sitting at my kitchen table with all of my financial statements. And I was running back and forth between my office and the kitchen table, trying to answer all of the questions she had about all of the mistakes I had made during the previous 3 months in keeping the books. And when I finally acquiesced to get QuickBooks Online to allow her a bigger hand in doing the bookkeeping for the business, did my life get so much easier. Like, she was a very nice lady, but I dreaded having her come over because I knew that it was just going to be clean up on aisle 5 over and over and over again for as long as it took her to sort out my books. Had I acquiesced and had I sort of been like, I really don't like this and I'm really not good at it, and leaned into that support much sooner, it would have been a much less painful journey on the financial front for me. So that's just one example, but we can help you think about which pieces are worth outsourcing, which pieces do you really want to keep. Everybody's got skills and everybody's got stuff that they're not as good at or that they just really don't like doing. You don't have to do it all yourself. So that's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is overlooking the importance of a diversified revenue model. There's a couple different ways to think about diversification in your coaching business. One of them is from modalities. We're actually not going to talk about modality diversification today because that's pretty standard. We can talk about it in the membership, but I think the more interesting diversification point to think about is where your business is coming from. And so many new coaches, and we see this actually in a lot of the programs, other business development programs that we've looked at, there's an assumption that you are going to go out and generate your own book of business. You're going to have all your own direct clients, and you're not going to subcontract, or no one's talking about subcontracting. Maybe that's a better way to say it. And having your own clients is awesome. Like that is the best, in our opinion, that's the best way to do it, right? Is to get your own book of clients and you set the rates and you have the relationship and you reap all the benefit. But that is a really hard thing to do out of the gate, and it takes a really long time. And so a better way to think about it is to diversify according to what I have affectionately dubbed the three-legged revenue model. And the way that we think about this is direct client work, which we just talked about. So building your own roster of clients, organizations that are paying you directly, and you get to decide how to scope the work, how to charge for the work, all that stuff. Then two different kinds of subcontracting that we think about. One of them is big company subcontracting. I think of this as like the Coach Sources and the Better Ups and the Center for Creative Leadership and the Lee Hecht Harrison and the Right Managements and all of these big companies out there in the talent management space and the coaching space that maintain benches of coaches to deploy out to their work. They can really help you broaden your client list out of the gate. They can help teach you how things are done in the world of leadership and organizational coaching inside organizations. So there are a lot of benefits to that. However, of these three different kinds of revenue, they probably pay the least. And you don't have a lot of creative control. They're going to give you a scope of work and you are expected to execute that scope of work pretty much exactly as it is written. So if there's something that you don't like about that or you disagree with, you're most of the time going to be asked to go back to your corner and just do what you're asked. The third bucket here is what I call buddy subcontracting. This is where you build relationships with other people who are in the same or adjacent spaces as you. And when they have a project that's too big for them or they have too much work, they call you to help out. And so this kind of sits in between direct clients and large company subcontracting in the sense that it can be a little bit more lucrative than big company subcontracting. Generally, your buddy is going to be able to pay you a little bit more than a large company can because they don't have as much overhead. And you're going to have a little bit more creative control. It's not your relationship per se, but hopefully if you have a good relationship with your colleague, you're going to be able to influence what the work looks like. And if there's something you don't like or you've got something to contribute, generally, the partnership makes the work stronger. So we really recommend looking at your business in cultivating revenue from these three different buckets as a way of creating stability and diversity in your business that serves you over the long run. And a lot of people, some people have said to me, well, Jessica, you've never subcontracted. And that could not be further from the truth. Even 10 years on in the Sparks Group, I am still subcontracting for two organizations. One of them is what I would call a large company subcontracting, and I have one good buddy that I'm subcontracting with sort of regularly. And then every once in a while, an opportunity will pop up that is also subcontracted, but not regular. So even here at the Sparks Group, where we have at this point, the vast majority of our work is direct client work, I would tell you that that's only really fully come online in the last 2 or 3 years. So for years, at the beginning of the Sparks Group, subcontracting was a really important part of my strategy for making a living, and really think that it should be for you too, in most cases. All right, mistake number 4, pricing. Not setting clear rates or understanding market pricing. So the challenge that this happens all the time when I'm talking to new coaches, when I tell them what I think the reasonable market rates are, sort of high and low and what the ranges they should be thinking about, they usually, their head rolls off their body and they're so shocked at how big the numbers are because most new coaches don't understand the value of what they can deliver. They're not appropriately valuing their expertise, their experience, their wisdom, their training, and they don't understand what the market will bear. And so pricing is, of course, a huge question that a lot of new coaches have. The thing to do here is obviously to do your market research, to talk to as many people as you can to understand what pricing looks like in the marketplace. And then I think this is largely a psychological game, and I'm going to give Alexander Kaye, who is a wonderful coach and was a teacher at Georgetown for a long time. He laid this little tidbit on me years ago that said, you have to step into the illusion of your value. You have to find a way to put the price out there that is fair and get over the fact that you don't think you're worth it. Get over the fact that you're worried that it's too high. And that is really hard to do, to step into the illusion of your value. So thank you, Alexander, for that. I've carried that around with me for years, and I offer it to you today. So this is a big mistake, is that a lot of coaches go out there with pricing that is way too low, way too low. Okay. Last one here is failing to prioritize business development. Most coaches don't want to be doing business development. We're helping professionals. We just want to coach people. We just want to help people. We do not want to have to sell. We do not want to have to, have difficult conversations about money and scope. However, even if you're going to subcontract primarily as your strategy, which is totally legitimate, you're still going to have to deal with this, right? You're just selling to somebody instead of the final end client. And so I would tell you that this is something I still struggle with. I actually enjoy business development and have gotten pretty comfortable with it, but the discipline around staying engaged with it over time and generating a level of activity that is going to keep the business and the pipeline healthy is something that I am still working on. Anna can tell you, because she'll be like, Jessica, what have you done with these prospects in our pipeline? Have you checked in with them? And I'll be like, yeah, I gotta circle back around on that. So this is the thing. I talk to a lot of new coaches who are struggling getting enough work to pay their bills. And I'll say, well, what are you doing? And they'll be like, well, I told everybody when I started that I'm coaching. And I said, when was that? 6 months ago. I said, what have you done since then? Well, So the opportunity here is to develop some persistence, some discipline. You can come on that ride with me, because it's something that I'm working on too all the time. The opportunity here is that it does not have to look like cold calls. It doesn't have to be going to networking events if that's not your jam. There are so many ways to do business development, and sort of like marketing. The opportunity here is to find the thing that is comfortable to you and yields the results that you're looking for. It's not just, there is no right answer on this stuff, which is, I think, one of the differentiators in how we're thinking about this offering, is that we want to help you find your right answer, more of a coaching approach than a, hey, here's our right answer, or here's the right answer, and you should just do it our way. We are not interested in putting that out there for you. So those are the 5 mistakes. We could spend all day talking about those, and I could open up for questions here. I'm actually not going to do that, because I really want to talk about the Catalyst Coaching Collective. We are going to open it up for questions here once I get through that part. But I hope that you got a little bit of value out of that, and maybe some little new nugget, or at least give you a window into how we think about these things at the Sparks Group. And some of my own and our ongoing work as we run the Sparks Group, like, what do we need to get better at? What are we worried about not doing well enough? And these are some of those things. So I'm assuming that those of you that are here, those of you that signed up for the webinar, are interested in, either you've already made this leap and you're trying to get traction and get established, or you're thinking about making the leap. But regardless, you're interested in this question of, how do I build a practice? How do I build a healthy, sustainable practice that allows me to live the life that I want to live? No disrespect to coaches that do this, come to this as their second career when they're essentially retired and their income needs are lower. And you're welcome to join us on this ride in the collective, but we are really interested in helping people who need to make a living. You are not out of your first career yet. You still have income needs. I've got one kid about to go to college. I got another one right behind him. I am in my prime spending years, is what I say. Like, need to be making a living doing this work. That is really who we're targeting with this offering. So let's talk about what the Catalyst Coaching Collective is all about. I kind of got ahead of myself there. So here's a little bit about who it's targeted to. Are you an executive or leadership coach? So we are firmly focused on the B2B organizational business context here. Are you considering transitioning from traditional employment, or have you already transitioned from traditional employment? You're seeking to become independent as a coach. Do you want the autonomy and the financial success that you believe you should have, or do you really want, but you're feeling pretty overwhelmed or stressed out by growing a practice that meets your income needs? Are you overwhelmed or stressed out by the idea of building a brand or finding your clients, right? So it's sort of the traditional offering from a business development offering of like the marketing, the sales, that kind of stuff, we definitely want to talk about that, but we're envisioning this to be much broader than just a sales and business development offering. And then, do you want to learn and be supported? This is the part that feels super braggy and uncomfortable, by someone who's done it, right? So I started out, I was a Fortune 50 employee and started from zero and have built the Sparks Group with the help of a lot of people, two of whom are here, Anna and Lisa. We are a 7-figure practice now. We have built this business from scratch. We have stubbed our toes so many times, it's not even funny, but we pick ourselves up and we keep on going and we learn and we iterate and we improve. And it doesn't ever get easy. There's no silver bullet. Your success is not guaranteed, whether or not you sign up with us. But I think there's a lot to be said from having done the thing that we're saying we're going to help you try to do. And I'm not sure that all the offerings out there do that. So if you want to come learn from our experience, our mistakes, our continued, sort of trying to make this go, we would love to have you along on the ride. Come on, slide, let's go. Okay, so what is it? It is specifically for leadership coaches who aspire to be independent and want organizations to be their primary clients. We want to provide you support, resources, and community. I want to put an emphasis on community here. I think this is another thing that we noticed is maybe not as prevalent in other offerings that are out there, is that there is so much to be learned, not just from us, but from other coaches who are trying to do the same thing. And there are sort of a pretty standard set of best practices, experiences, ways to handle things. And so we can really gain a lot of value from the collective, we believe. That has been my experience. So many people have helped me, and we think that by creating a community together, that's going to help everybody. The name comes from catalyst. So you were maybe in a traditional employment, you want to make a change in how you are showing up in the world, right? So that's huge. That's a big deal to become self-employed. We're starting from the place of coaching, but one of the things, we're not touching on it heavily today, but one of the things that we believe heavily is that the more modalities you can bring into your practice, the healthier your practice is going to be. So we're going to start from the coaching place, but we're going to talk about consulting and facilitation and assessments and training and, all the other stuff that's out there to do. And then collective, I talked about the community. We're better together. And I love this little line, you might be independent, but you don't need to be alone. You don't need to be alone. Okay, so big content areas. We have brainstormed so much content and we kind of have it loosely organized, but we're also waiting to see who signs up for the membership and what they are most interested in so that we can kind of make the final approach plan of how this is going to work. But major buckets that I would say we are thinking about, and I would note that this really feels to us, and what we're trying to accomplish here is for this to be a much broader offering than typically we're finding in the business development space. We think there's a lot to be said around deciding to make the leap or not. And even if you're not out on your own already, being a part of the collective and seeing what other people are wrestling with, seeing where the challenges are, getting to ask questions about things that you might not be sure about can help you make a decision about whether or not to make the leap. And then there's a long runway, right? Once you decide to go, it doesn't mean that you're leaving tomorrow, your job. There's a lot to be said about how to prepare to get ready to leave and to go out on your own. And so we have some things to say about that. Designing your ideal practice. Everybody's practice looks different. There is no right way. There is no best way. But there are some foundational principles that we believe are helpful as you think about constructing your practice. So we want to help you think about where you are now, what your future state looks like, very personal, and then kind of help you map out a path to get there. Subcontracting, this is another big differentiator. I have not, and I could be completely wrong about this, but in my research, I have not been able to find another program that really talks about how to do subcontracting well. I think about when I was subcontracting a lot, especially early in the days, and I really should go back and apologize to all the people I was subbing for because I was a pain in the ass. to some of those people in terms of how I showed up and what I expected to be paid. And now that I'm on the other side of the fence a fair bit of the time, I have a much deeper understanding of what it means to be a good subcontractor, what some of the rules of the road are, how to find those opportunities, how to make sure that you get invited back. And so I think there's a lot to say about subcontracting, not just how to get those opportunities, but how to execute on them well so that you are chosen when the next one comes around. So how to make subcontracting work for you. And then lastly, the community and the expert guidance, which I've spoken about a little bit already, but we really want to help connect coaches who are on the journey together, like-minded, share experiences with each other, find encouragement, and then to learn from us at the Sparks Group. So we're anticipating sharing, and we already are, once you sign up for the membership and you get into the platform, there's already a workbook out there to help you think about designing your ideal practice. There's a checklist out there on the very basic first things you need to do to get your business started. We are anticipating sharing resources from the Sparks Group as it makes sense about how we do things so that you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just picking our version of it up and then adapting it for your practice and yourself. Okay. We're almost to the question part. I feel like I'm just talking, but I'm going to invite you in here in a minute. So what do you get? We are going to meet every other week, twice a month, generally on Tuesdays around lunchtime, East Coast time. That's either going to be 11:30 a.m. or 12 o'clock, 11:30 to 1 or 12 to 1:30. I'm trying to vary it a little bit. We're going to start that way for the first 6 months. We'll see how the membership responds to that. If that works, we'll make changes if it doesn't, but we're generally planning on 3 hours a month of time together. The calls will be recorded, so if you can't make one, you'll be able to go back and listen to the recording. Tools and content from the Sparks Group. We really want this to be a dialogue. So it's not just, we're not going to have a heavy curriculum where you're going to be like today, where I'm just dumping on you, but you're going to have an opportunity in every session to bring your own questions and challenges and get personalized support based on where you are in your journey. Okay. So we think that is a little bit more bespoke, a little bit more trying to meet you where you are than just saying, here's the offering and here's the way we're delivering it. And that's the way it's going to be. We are going to use the Easy Course platform to store all of our materials. So when you have access to the membership, you'll get everything on the platform. That'll be all the recordings, all the tools we make available, all that good stuff. And then because this is the first time we're doing this, we have never marketed and sold to coaches here at the Sparks Group. So we have a lot to learn, I'm sure, about how to meet your needs and how to provide value. We are looking to learn and iterate, right? So we're asking for a little bit of patience. We're going to be asking for feedback. I'm sure we're going to stub our toe a few more times because that's kind of how this just goes. So we're going to ask for your patience and your help to shape this offering to make it as valuable as possible for you. As a bonus and to say thank you for taking a little bit of a risk and coming along with us as we sort out this new offering. If you join in the next, so the membership, the opportunity to join is going to be open for the next week. It's going to close today's Tuesday. It's going to close in a week on Tuesday. If you join in the next week, you're going to get a one-on-one with me for free. And we can do whatever you want in that hour. The general thought I have is we'll use that design your plan workbook that we've created as a potential starting point for that conversation, but happy to go wherever you want to go in that conversation. So that's what's included. And then here's the investment. So it's $249 a month to start. This is likely to be the least expensive it will ever be because we're learning and iterating and want to make sure that it's a really good value. You get your bonus one-on-one session with me. We're going to be open for people to join until next Tuesday. Then we'll go on a wait list and we're going to see how it goes. And we'll, assuming this is a go and it works, we'll open it up again at some point in the future, but there is I don't know when that's going to be yet. We're going to learn and see. You're welcome to cancel anytime. We're not interested in like signing you up for something and keeping you stuck. So if you don't like it or it's not working for you or your circumstances change, that's great. We're not going to rope you into anything. And we're happy to answer any questions that you've got about that. The last thing I'll say before we open it up for questions is we care very much about what's happening in the world right now. And we're very cognizant that people who need a hand up may be less likely to get it at this juncture right now in the way things are. This is not our language. These self-assessment questions on the right, they've been borrowed. But I really like them. I really like the idea that we can offer a couple of spots in the membership for a reduced price to people who need access but may not be able to afford it. So if this is you, or if you know somebody that this might apply to, who might be interested, the idea here, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but the idea here is that we're going to hold 2 spots in the membership for low bono members. And that would be, we were asked people to self-identify based on answering no to most of the questions on the right-hand side. Okay. So again, if this is you, or you know somebody this might apply to who might be interested, I think we're just going to do first come, first serve on these. So we would just look for an email to info@Sparks Group to say, hey, I sort of meet the criteria more or less for the low bono offer, and I would like to take you up on that. We'll have 2 spots for 6 months, and then we'll rotate that so that we can give access over time to people who may not have the means to pay full price for the membership. And I think that's it. So, okay, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to invite you in for questions, comments. What did we not cover that you want to know about?
Jessica, we have a couple questions in the chat.
Oh, do we? Okay, great.
Yeah. First one is it's from Brad. Do most benches require that you have ACC level accreditation?
Yeah. You want me to go ahead and answer that one first, and then we'll move on? Yeah, I pulled them up. Yeah, that's a really great question, Brad. There is some debate about the ICF and the value of ICF accreditation. Certainly there are some people who think that coaching has maybe been too structured, too many rules, too many guidelines, and so they don't want to get certified by the ICF. But I think if you are trying to make a living as a coach, and you are in the leadership or executive space and you want businesses to be your clients, then ICF accreditation is pretty important, because the industry is getting more sophisticated. Consumers are getting more educated. And one of the ways that they have to sort out who is qualified and who is not is through ICF accreditation. So I am in the camp that if you don't care about making money, if you don't care about making a living, if you don't care how many clients you have, then you are welcome to unhook from the ICF's accreditation model. But I recommend it. And I think you'll find that more and more benches will be requiring that if they don't already. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I just quickly as a follow-up, because I'm almost there, but I'm sort of waffling now between, do I join a bench to finish up those hours too and get that process moving, or do I wait until I've got the 100 hours to get the ACC and finish the tests and all that, which could be another few months, then I miss out on the next few months of potential bench work.
Yeah, I think if you can find a bench that would take you without your ACC, I would jump on that, because that's going to continue to pay dividends even after you get your ACC. That would be my reaction to that. So not only would it help you get the hours to get the ACC, but then you're on that bench and hopefully it continues to provide opportunities to you. So, yeah.
All right, Brad's second question is, what are your recs for the best ways to develop business?
Yeah, that's like the $1 million question, isn't it, Brad? I have, as I sort of alluded to, we have tried so many different things here at the Sparks Group, and I'm embarrassed. I haven't counted up how much money we've spent and wasted, but I would be embarrassed to do that. I think at the end of the day, the things that are evergreen across almost every coach and almost every practice are relationship building, asking for referrals, cultivating referrals, and just keeping in touch with people. Most of us have good networks. They might need to be revived They might need some TLC to kind of bring them back to life if you haven't been attentive to your network in some time. But most of us have been working. We know people, we know organizations, we're involved in the community. It's not that we don't have places to get business from. It's that we are not telling people what we're doing. We're not asking for opportunities, and we're not keeping in touch with people over time so that when the opportunity arises, they think of us. So I think of it as like a sort of a slow boil, persistent effort that needs to be, it's like putting the pot on simmer. You just need to keep it going the vast majority of the time. And when an opportunity pops up, you have got to be persistent in following up. Like you can't, we have people that we have been pursuing or organizations we've been pursuing. I think of one on the West Coast, Anna, you probably can think about who it is, where we pursued business with them for the better part of 2 years before we finally got something. And that's not super uncommon. Unfortunately, the sales cycle for what we do can be really long. And so if you're not staying on people's radars at least once a quarter, once every 6 months, that makes it harder. So that's my best universal answer to that question. I don't know if that's helpful.
All right, Kathy's wondering about how we're going to pace. How is the right information or content paced for those in different places in their journey?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kathy. Thanks for that. We're trying to figure that out. I wouldn't say that we have the right answer for that yet, but we're sort of partially paying attention to where do you start on this journey, and then how does it generally progress for people? I think we also want to see who shows up and in the membership and where those people are. And then we really want to hear from people, where are you in your journey and which pieces are most helpful. So that's why we're thinking about a little bit of content drip in every session of like, okay, here's a topic. We're going to share something on this today, but we're not going to spend the whole 90 minutes delivering content, not even close. And then we're going to say, okay, where is everybody? What do you need today? And allow space for everyone to bring their issue forward so that we're trying to balance a little bit of structure and a little bit of curriculum with really trying to adapt to where you are and what you most need in that moment. So one of the things I'm keen to ask the people who show up in the membership is like, where can we start that would be most helpful for you? Like which topics are most burning a hole in your brain? So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
How many months do you envision it going? From Allison?
Oh, yeah. So we're structuring it as a membership so that you can come in and depart, come in whenever, well, we're gonna sort of have structured entering points, at least right now, to kind of manage, see how it is and manage it that way. But we're inviting people to stay as long as you're getting value. So this is maybe another difference between a typical offering, again, that we've seen in the marketplace, not that we know all of them by any stretch. But it's not technically a curriculum. It's not a class where we're going to do these 7 topics over 7 weeks and then we're going to send you on your way. I think one of the things that helps people be more successful getting where they want to be is ongoing support that is more attentive to where you are in the moment. So the hope is that you stay as long as you're getting value. That's going to be a very personal decision, of course, of like, okay, I think I'm ready to fly solo. I've got what I need for where I am now. So there is no technical end date. You're going to get to make that decision on your own. Is there anything we've missed? Are there any details that we haven't thought about that you're like, how's this going to work? Or how's that going to work? We tried to think of everything, but I am 100% sure that we did not get it all.
So Jessica, I am one of those people that has made a lot of expensive mistakes.
I hear you, Tracy. Join the club.
And a lot of these like coach development businesses, are about, well, develop your niche and, figure out a client avatar and
Yeah.
blah, blah. So how are you different? Other than that, you're you, and I know you and I like you already, but still,
Well, thanks.
I'm very, it's very hard for me at this stage of my life to, be spending that.
Yeah, no, definitely hear that. So I think I did the same thing when I was starting. I hired a guy here in Charlotte who I adore, by the way. I'm still colleagues with him and I see him around town and but I think I paid him $2,000 to help me identify my niche and develop some buyer personas. And the buyer persona work has been enduring, I would say, helpful over the entire Sparks Group experience. I can't remember what else I did with him, and I have no idea where it is. And so I would argue that, like, what in the end, what value did I really get from that? Not a whole lot. So can we talk about personas and can we talk about niches? We for sure can, and there can be value in those things for sure. But if you have a more immediate need to be making money, I think there's, again, depending on you and depending on the practice you want to build and depending on where you are in your timeline, that maybe is not the best place to be spending your time. And I know that's probably a little bit provocative and goes against a lot of the sort of traditional knowledge out there. But when I paid that money to do that work with my colleague here in Charlotte, it didn't move the needle for me. It didn't help my business at that point in time. So I think a more valuable way to be doing the work is to really be looking at your network, looking at how you've been communicating with your network. In 10 plus years of running the Sparks Group, I have never run out of people in my own network that I could be talking to, asking, reminding about what I do and asking them if there's opportunity to work with them. I could have never networked with anybody new and still have plenty of work to do, plenty of business development work to do. So I guess my comment, Tracy, is that I think there can be sort of a misguided thought about the importance of the niche and the buyer persona. Again, not that it's not important or not that it doesn't have a role at some point, but I'm not sure that that's the best place to start for somebody who's getting started and trying to get traction. Am I answering your question, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in agreement with you because, developing, like I said, I wasted a lot of money on that and it didn't really speak to me. It didn't really do it for me at all.
Yeah.
I guess it raises another, there's this other weird catch-22, and this is a totally different question.
Go for it.
That like, the way I'm going, I will be able to apply for my ACC in the spring. It's taken me a little longer than I expected, but there it is.
That's okay. Congratulations.
Well, it's not there yet, but so in terms of trying to get on a bench, there's this like weird catch-22, like a lot of them require an ACC or something in order to get on the bench.
Yeah.
But then, you're working to get the hours,
Yeah.
So it's
A little bit like what Brad was asking about earlier. Do I get on a bench to get the hours or do I get the hours to get on the bench?
yeah.
Yeah, I generally, my personal preference around this or my personal sort of advice, and others are welcome to disagree, but I think speeding through to get your ACC as quickly as possible is never a bad decision. And if that requires bartering or taking $1 or a cup of coffee as payment so that you can get the hours, the ACC is really the key to beginning to get on benches and have more opportunities open up. And so I think the fastest way that you can get that box, and I hate to say like get that box checked, but it does signify that there's a level of commitment there. The ICF has endorsed you and organizations are going to be like, okay, we don't have to vet her because the ICF has vetted her. And again, that's not true across the board, but it opens up a lot of doors. Yeah, Paula says ICF peer coaching. Yes, that is also an excellent way to rack up the hours. But my recommendation to all of my students at Georgetown, and sharing it here, is just get that ACC as quickly as possible, because it's going to make more opportunities open to you.
Are there particular coaching benches that you recommend?
I think honestly, I'm a little bit out of date on it, because I'm not subcontracting as much anymore. And I think there are a lot of companies that have entered the marketplace. That's one of the things that I've wondered if it would be of value in the membership, is to kind of pool the collective wisdom about the experience. Like, what are the benches that are out there and what are the experiences with them? Because I know that that's a really important question. I personally do not feel super qualified to comment on that at this point. So this is where the community aspect would really drive a lot of value around that. Yeah, good. Kathy, I see your comment. Yeah. I think that landscape has changed quite a lot in the last few years and is changing all the time. There was one company I actually was advising for them, and they went out of business in the fall. They ran out of money. So I think it's a dynamic landscape for sure. Maria's question, how important to get PCC versus ACC? Yeah. So as the market, Maria, that's a great question. As the market gets more sophisticated, although I'll be interested for you as you move back home, at least in the United States, I would say that some organizations are requiring PCC. Yeah. So ACC, I say get it as quickly as you can, just to start to open up our opportunities. And PCC is like, you should keep going. PCC is sort of probably the most common request, I would say, that we see organizations asking for. So even with your ACC, there's still sometimes, going to be things that you're not eligible for. But at least gets you started. I do not think your MCC is required. And those of you who know me, and I've shared my story about getting my own MCC, that kicked my butt. And it doesn't mean that I think other people would have a much easier time with it and wouldn't make the mistakes I made. I do not believe that an MCC is necessary in the marketplace today, but I think PCC is really helpful. Yeah. What else, team? I'm checking the clock here. We still have 10 minutes. Happy to hang around and answer questions. I should have built in a little more interaction along the way. That's cool.
Question about
Yeah, Jake.
PCC and the collective of, I don't know how PCC works, what's all required to get it. Is there any components of being a member that would help you move towards that PCC, as far as, I know you're not like an accredited,
Yeah.
version of something, but is there any portion of what that would be that might be helpful for that?
That is a really great question, Jake, and so there's the thing that we missed. There it is. Haven't thought about it, haven't explored it. So, Jake, I think the best answer to that question right now is that I don't think there's anything the Catalyst Coaching Collective can do or can offer that would help you get your PCC. But what we should explore, and if we can take a note down about this, is that we might be able to get some continuing education credits for the collective that then would help you with renewal of your credential when that came around. Thanks, Susan. Well, thanks for being here. Great question, Jake. What else?
Jessica in the chat, I'm Ruza. I hope I'm saying your name right. Please feel free to correct me if I'm not. Asks, out of curiosity, we're still far off, but why do you say MCC isn't of more value than PCC?
Because maybe isn't of more value, maybe is not quite the way I would put it, but I think most organizations it is a more common request for coaches to be certified at the PCC level. So I think if you get PCC, you more or less have that, like, the credentialing thing is not going to be a limiter for you anymore. Every once in a great while, and let me think, in 10 years of doing this, I've maybe seen it less than 5 times, less than 3 times, a very small number of times have I seen there be a specific request for an MCC coach. So I just don't think the market, unless it's a very senior level leader or group of leaders and they want really seasoned coaches with all the bells and whistles, you are not going to see in the marketplace, a call for coaches or a criteria for coaches to be at the MCC level. So now, do I think that it made me a better coach? 1,000% yes. I was forced, my MCC training forced me to go back and clean up some bad habits, and it deepened my understanding of what good coach. So like from a practitioner, I want to be a good coach perspective, I got a lot of value out of going through the steps to get my MCC. From a business building perspective or a practice building perspective, I do not believe that it is essential. Now, is it a good marketing tool? Yes, it is. It is. But I don't think you necessarily have to have it to get business at all. At all. Yeah. Shri?
Hey, Jessica, would it be okay if I just share some comments?
Absolutely. Weigh in, help add to the conversation. What do you see?
Okay, awesome. So folks, just to give you a little bit of background, I went through the Georgetown program back in 2014, 2015, cohort 42, and I got to meet Jessica at our Georgetown retreats in Maine. And I've always been a really big fan of Jessica. She's just a phenomenal coach and just an amazing human being, but also just a really smart business person. It's been an interesting journey for me in the last couple of years. At this point, I've made millions of dollars doing this kind of work, but I've realized that unless you're getting the business side of it right, a lot of your talent goes waste. And what Jessica's put together here, I think, is really compelling. I'm so happy to see that she's offering all of her wisdom, both from lessons learned with the mistakes as well as all the things she's gotten right. And I hope you all can benefit from it. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Jessica. Very big fan of her and all the work that she has done. I think just a lot to learn from her. So wishing you all the very best.
That's very kind. Thank you. Thank you, friend. All right, I know we got a couple minutes left. Other questions, comments? Thanks for being here, George. You probably already left.
I was wondering if folks might want to put in the chat, what is their most pressing issue right now? If you think about building your business, what's the biggest challenge you have? I'm mostly curious, honestly.
We should
It'd
have
be
put that
interesting to
in
hear from you
earlier as
guys.
like a thing. We needed more interaction earlier on in this. That's a lesson learned. Business development processes and subbing, yeah. Fear, yeah. Fab 40. Networking, okay, Allison. Clarity on the process and how this year will shape out, okay.
Jess, I just want to say, as a cohort and learning circle colleague of yours from Georgetown, it's beautiful to see you bring this offering into the community. And I'm just delighted to see how your practice has evolved. I get to be one of the people who got to see Jess's very, very, very first logo, and it's just a joy to see how your business thrived since then. So
Isabel was in my learning circle at Georgetown and is one of my coaching besties for all these years. So it's that's really lovely. Thanks. Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is great. It's great to see some of the comments, and this is helpful in terms of subcontracting, pricing. Yeah. Thinking about how you want your year to be, building a network to go to ask for work. The fear piece that's big. I mean, I woke up this morning and I was scared to come do this today because this is such a new thing for us. That never goes away, right? You learn to live with it. So these are great responses. These are great responses. Well, I want to thank you all for taking an hour. We put a poll up here. If you wouldn't mind, it's just 3 questions. Go ahead and give us some answers on that. We're going to send out this webinar probably tomorrow, if not the next day, to serve as a reference for you. We put the URL up where you can see the membership offering and sign up. We would love to have you help us create this thing and create this community. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to us at info@sparksgrp.com. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Talk to you later.